Hey, it's Monday and it is, so it's 12 o'clock and it's live. Financial Literacy 101 today. I just want to make sure 100% you can hear me. So if somebody's joined in, I didn't get to test my own microphone. Welcome to Monday. We're here live at 12 noon every Monday at 12 noon Sydney time. Thanks so much for joining us live. Healthy Numbers Profit Group, Healthy Numbers Profit Lab Facebook group. We're here to figure out our financials and improve our financial literacy and numeracy of every business owner on the planet if we can. We're going to talk today about money and about numbers, and I want you to please ask questions in the live as we go. I know I get lots of questions in your messages, and I love being able to answer them. So, but if you've got some questions today, just let me know. Put them in the chat. Say hello from wherever you are. Welcome to all of our new members. We've got many new members this week. It's terrific. Thank you so much for joining us. And for the next 15 to 20 minutes, I promise I am going to deliver you as much information as I can, as it's possible to do. So I just have to put a little disclaimer because today is general information only. It should not be relied upon as advice in relation to your particular circumstances and issues, for which you should obtain specific, independent, professional advice. So there we go. So let's get started. Financial literacy. What is financial literacy? Financial literacy is the ability to understand and effectively use various financial skills to run the financial side of your business. This would include cash flow management. This would be revenue and sales and break-even analysis and expenses, opportunity costs, and so much more. And the truth is, like any form of literacy, it's just about understanding the language. Whatever your chosen profession, so whether you're a dentist or a Pilates instructor or a podiatrist or a chiropractor, or you make clothing or chai tea, running a marketing company, you've got your own language, haven't you? And you didn't always understand what all of those words meant. And you know, the truth is that the landscapes are changing. You know, even if you are running a marketing company or you are a podiatrist or a dentist, there are new words coming all the time in your business. So whatever your business is, you have your own language, and financial literacy is just another language. Hello too, lovely to see you there. Jump in and tell me how things are in your part of the world. I know we've got a few people there. I can't always see who's there. I wish I could figure that out, so I'll be onto that soon. Financial literacy is the same. It's just the words that describe the concepts, and my role is to put all of this into plain English so that it's super easy for you to understand. Actually, it'll be plain Australian because I am actually Australian, so it makes sense to you. So when I worked in an insurance company, we had our own language, and I had to learn what all of those words mean. So really, financial literacy is just really for you to understand what these words all mean and what the concepts behind them mean. So why do we need to develop financial literacy? And this is a key question. So there's a few reasons we need to do that. As a business person, you absolutely need to know what is going on with your finances, to make good business decisions, to jump into new opportunities, to not jump into opportunities, to hire new team members, to not hire team members, to the opportunity costs of choosing one direction or going in a different direction, so that you can go to the bank. Why else do you need to understand financial literacy? It's so that you go to the bank, so that you have a discussion about your finances, that you discuss credit, that you discuss loans, that you discuss investments with them. So having a clear understanding of what's going on financially in your business gives you a real sense of power and a sense of command when you go to the banks for those sorts of discussions. When you go to your bookkeeper or your accountant, you know what they're telling you. These are the reasons that we need to have and develop our financial literacy. So when you look at your reports, that you understand them. The financial landscape changes all the time, so it's super important as a business person that that it's just required of you, really, that you have financial literacy. And if you fail to not develop these strong grasps of the financial principles, it's almost impossible to grow your business. So really understanding how finance works, understanding what is this language, it helps you avoid the pitfalls and it helps you negotiate financial matters more strongly. It's really interesting. ASIC, which is the Australian Securities Investment Company, did a financial attitudes and behaviour tracking survey, and it found that 41% of women find dealing with money stressful and overwhelming. So that means that more than half don't, which is fantastic. So I think the group that we have here are in that percentage that don't find it stressful. But there is always this sort of sense of procrastination and this sort of sense of daunting around getting our tax returns done, getting our BAS done, getting our cash flow, putting together our budgets and our forecasts. And you know, one of the really interesting things I found out just over this weekend when I was doing some reading was that economics, in 1990s, economics was the third most popular subject in high schools in Sydney, in Australia. In the 1990s, it was the third most popular. 90% of high schools offered economics in the 1990s. Today, it's 40%. And economics has slipped to the 22nd most popular subject. Holy moly, 21 subjects are more popular than economics. And yet, economics is the thing that drives our country and drives our businesses. And more people than ever are starting a business. And economics and financial literacy is critical to that. So if it's the 22nd most popular subject at school, what are we producing in terms of intellectual financial literacy? I work all the time with people who want to just do what they do and do it really well. I want to be a terrific dentist. I don't really want to buy into all this business stuff. That's not really how it works. So let's get on with it. How are we going to develop our financial literacy? Well, there's two aspects to this that I'm going to be working on with you over the next 100 days. So it's almost 100 days till the end of 2020. And I know a lot of you are saying, whew, it'll be great when it's over. It's actually just going to be more of the same in 2021. So let's just come to terms with that and let's just understand what we're doing. So developing financial literacy involves learning and then practicing a variety of skills related to business financials. How to understand what cash flow is, how to understand budgeting, how to understand managing and paying off your debts, understanding credit and investment products. So the first thing we have to do is learn the jargon. Some of the complex terms can sound, whoa, they're like a major barrier to understanding the world of money, but they're truly not. The jargon has been, it's been the same for many years and it's worth learning. So what I'd love you to do right now is in the chat, if you could write in the chat, what is the number one most confusing word for you when it comes to financial literacy? When someone says this word to you, you go, oh, I just don't even know what that means. I was talking to somebody the other day about helping them calculate their break-even point. And, you have your revenue and you have your expenses and, what's the break-even point? And she said to me, I don't even know what a profit and loss is. When you say profit and loss to me, I don't even know what that means. So I would love you if you could put into the chat the thing, the word, the concept that absolutely you struggle the most to come to terms with in your business. So this financial literacy is just like learning another language. And I'm going to take us through a series of language classes over the coming weeks on a Monday. We're going to pull apart some of these words and some of these concepts and find out what they are. Now, I would like us to have an agreement that it's okay to not have the answers. That it's okay, please don't be afraid to be embarrassed, to be dumb. I don't want, I used to say when I was facilitating large groups of people, the only question that we don't ask, the only dumb question is the question we don't ask. So if you have a question about this, if if there's something that I know that you don't understand, put them in the chat there and I'm going to work on them over the next weeks, every Monday. So where would you have learnt something like this? If it's not taught in schools, if it's not taught in, you went to learn to be a dentist, you went to learn to be a coach, you went to learn how to make chai tea, but no one ever taught you the financial side, the business side. So how could you possibly know this? And thank you for being here. I think this is the best way you can spend your 15, 20 minutes every Monday, or if you're listening on the replay for it. Super important not to be afraid of asking the questions. I truly pride myself on being able to explain things that my 12-year-old nephew could understand, or my 86-year-old mum, when we still had my mum, could understand as well. And this is your business, and that is powerful. Being a business owner is one of the most exciting things that you can be. It helps you feel empowered. When you feel strong, when you understand these words, this will make you feel much more empowered as a business owner. So let's agree not to be embarrassed. I would love you to put in there in the chat any of the words that you are really struggling to understand. So one of the things that somebody asked me recently was, how is business literacy different to personal literacy? Because there's some really terrific people. I mean, if you've read Scott Pape's book, The Barefoot Investor, he's also written A Barefoot for Families. He is one of the people really changing how personal finance is approached in Australia. So one of the fundamentals about personal finances is it's around how much it costs you to live. It's about how much superannuation you want to be saving for, how much you want to allocate to savings. And for most individuals, there's a cap on how much they can earn. Is you get your salary and maybe you get a side hustle or you get a second job, but there's sort of a cap to personal finances. But when we look at business finances, oh my gosh, you have expenses and you figure out how you're going to generate revenue, and ultimately we want to make profit, because business viability is measured by making profit. More money coming in than what actually goes out. That's actually a viable business. And if that's not happening, it's actually a hobby or an interest. It's not really a business, except for those first couple of years when, and I know there's a couple of you listening in today who, in the early days of business, we reinvest all our money back into the business because we want to grow it. And I think Dermalogica is one of my favorite examples of this. 5 years, they invested all the money back into the business, and they only took tiny, tiny salaries for themselves just to pay their living expenses and, to keep themselves fed. But truly, that's, so when we're in business though, there's so many ways we can increase revenue. So we can have higher prices, we can have more clients, we can sell more of what we sell. And there's this concept of scale. Now, scaling not just for total automation, but scaling where once you know something works, then you repeat that over and over at the same level of quality. Now, we know that if something is handmade, so if I'm going to hand make a pottery something and then I'm going to scale that, I'm going to get a factory to make it, it's not going to be the same at all. That's not scale that we're talking about as being, honouring the profession, but how do we actually grow our business through scale? So these are some of the concepts. So now where was I up to? I'm just checking my notes here. So for many business owners, they actually don't really know what's happening financially in their business. And I've been working with so many business owners over the last 15 years. And once we start getting into the numbers, they go, oh, wow, we're actually doing better than we thought we were. Or this is easier than I thought it was going to be. And I do know, and I know that there's some members in this Profit Lab Facebook group, the Healthy Numbers Profit Lab group, is who once they get started looking at their numbers, they actually feel more excited about it. They go, oh my gosh, I just love getting in there every week and checking my numbers. I love being able to run my reports. I love being able to see how much money I'm making. I love being able to see how much more contribution I can make to the world because I'm actually making more money. And who doesn't have that on their phone where they go ka-ching every time something happens? I know sometimes when I wake up in the morning and somebody has purchased something from my website, it's quite wonderful to think that I have been asleep and somebody has bought something from me. So, there's a wonderful feeling of being able to automate some of the things that we do. But, truly as we move into these 2020s and 21 and 22, this personalized service is critical to what we're doing. So let's have a look. Have we got a bookkeeping service in place? Have you got a system? Are you tracking your revenue? Are you tracking your expenses? Are you paying yourself? So I want to talk a minute about profit first as a concept. So traditional accounting starts with revenue, take away expenses, and whatever you've got left, hopefully, fingers crossed, that's profit. Profit first flips this and says, let's start with revenue. Let's take profit from revenue. And I absolutely recommend you try this. Now, here's what I'm going to suggest that you do from today's call. So I always like you to have an action. There's always a call to action for this. So you take your revenue. So you're looking at your revenue. There's 2 steps. The first step is you set up a bank account, a separate account, and you call it profit. Now, you want to make sure you've got an account that isn't going to cost you a lot of money. And there's accounts around. So many of the banks offer low cost or no cost bank accounts for businesses. So grab yourself one of those. I personally know, I thank you, Scott Pape, for putting me onto ING. I personally have an ING account and I have my profit account. And what happens is when revenue comes into your business, every time revenue comes in, 1% goes into your profit account. 1%. So if you get $100 revenue, that is $1 for every $100 you get. So if you're at the markets for a day and you sell $350 worth of goods, that's your revenue, not what's left over, but your revenue. And you put, how much would you put in? Can anybody do that calculation? If you put 1% of $350, how much is 1% of $350? If somebody could drop that into the chat for me, that would be really wonderful, because that's how much you're going to put into your profit account. Now, so if you've got $5,000 for the week, how much are you going to put in? 1% into your profit account. Now, 1% feels small, but what it is it represents this huge mind shift. Nobody's put that in. So if it's $350, $35 is how much you would go in. If you had $5,000, you would put in 500. Sorry, 500. So 1% would be 500 of 5,000. I know it feels small. And you know what? Here it is. It's this huge mindset shift. So if you want to start with more, because you already know that your business is doing better than that, go nuts. Like make it 2% or make it 5%. But the thing is, if you've never done this, if you've never paid yourself, then putting that 1% starts to shift your mindset. Now, I started doing this some time ago when I started working with the Profit First concept, and I tell you what, immediately it just made me feel powerful as a business owner, because we don't work out the profit until later, until we've seen the expenses and we do our BAS at the end of the quarter and we do our financials at the end of the 12 months. We don't do that. But when you take that 1% and you put it straight away into your profit account, it's sitting there looking at you going, hello, I'm profit, yay. It's so powerful. So that's what you're going to do this week. You're going to think about how you set up a profit account. You could go to ING. Maybe if you're not in Australia, you find out another bank. I know some of the other big banks are doing it as well. But get yourself an account that I get no money from ING. So, again, remember, this is general advice and I'm not telling you what to do, but get yourself an account. No, I'm telling you what to do. Call it profit and start putting yourself 1% in there. Now, what you do with that profit account is completely up to you. We'll talk about that in future sessions. Because you could use it to pay down debt. You could use it to pay yourself a bonus. Hello, you could probably use it to pay yourself. So whatever you want to do, that's how you start to set up something like that for your business. So I know for some people there's a lot of fear when it comes to facing the numbers. I know I was talking to somebody at the weekend and they were talking about how embarrassing it is to realize that, we're so good at what we do and yet somehow this financial stuff just completely overwhelms us. But I'm here to tell you that I am here to help you. I am here to teach you what you need to know. We will be doing this every week. You can DM me, anybody that's in this group. We've connected on Facebook as well. So I absolutely would love you to let me know what your number one questions are. I'm going to use that to cover the next week's. So your action from this is to set up yourself a revenue account that is called Profit, and you're going to put 1% of that away or more if you can and see how you go. Now, to leave you, and I know we're on the 20 minutes, I'm reading this book, this amazing book by this gorgeous woman, Julie Andrews, and I read a little bit out to you one other time, but I just want to read you this piece because I read this at the weekend and I thought I want to share this. It doesn't really relate to money, but it does relate to picking ourselves up and carrying ourselves on. So that magnificent scene at the beginning of Sound of Music where she's on top of the hill and she's singing, the hills are alive. So here's how she describes how they made that. So they were filming live in Austria, obviously. So she began her walk, and as I did, the helicopter rose up and over its cover. It came at me sideways, looking a bit like a rather large giant crab. A brave cameraman named Paul Beeson was hanging out of it, strapped precariously to the side where a door would have been, his feet resting on the runners beneath the craft. Strapped to him was the heavy camera equipment. As the helicopter drew closer, I spun around with my arms as if I was about to sing. All I had to do was walk, twirl, and take a breath. Open my arms as if about to sing. All I had to do was walk, twirl, and take a breath. This required several takes to be sure that both the helicopter and I hit our marks correctly, the camera was in focus, there was no helicopter shadow, and that everything timed out. Once the take was complete, the helicopter soared up and around me and returned to its original position. At that point, I'd run back to the field and start all over again until Bob was satisfied that he had the perfect take. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. The problem is that as I completed that spin and the helicopter lifted, the downdraft from the jet engine was so powerful, it dashed me to the ground. I'd have to haul myself up, spitting mud and grass and brushing it off my dress, and trek back to my starting position again. Each time the helicopter circled me, I was flattened again. I became more and more irritated. Couldn't they see what was happening? I tried to indicate for them to take a wider circle. I could see the cameraman, the pilot, and our second unit director on board. But all I got was a thumbs up and a signal to do it again. Finally, the shot was deemed acceptable, and I was grateful to return to my hotel and take a long, hot bath. So, how many times did she do that? And the book is amazing how much resilience. But that's how it feels in business sometimes, doesn't it? It feels like there's a helicopter up there with a downdraft smashing us into the ground, and we have to pick ourselves up and spit out the dust and shake off the grass. So, I hope these help you. These Monday Lives inspire you, educate you, teach you what you need to know so that you're actually able to run your business as best you can, understand the finances, figure out the financials, as we say. So I know that's a little bit over the 20 minutes, but I just felt like I wanted to share Julie Andrews because she's just so fabulous. And I just thought that was so inspiring. And I think biographies are a fantastic way for us to be inspired and keep ourselves going. So thank you so much for being with me today. I look forward to your comments. Let me know what your questions are, and I shall see you next week.